When I think of the word hood, I think of a person, a place, and perhaps even a thing. I'm Sir Creepsta, and welcome to Muhlenberg County Ghost Stories from the Hood. Tonight's tale of terror is entitled The Haunting of Hudson Manor, Broad Street Ghost. I'm sure that many of us have heard the term ghost many times throughout our lives via television, movies, books, or from even people we may know. The term itself is usually associated with a paranormal spirit or entity that has yet to cross over to the other side, meaning the upper room, which is none other than heaven, or the lower room, which is none other than hell itself. Tonight's tale of terror was shared to me by my sweetheart Deanna, and how for years she was haunted by what seemed to be a spirit that had yet to cross over to the upper room, based on the type of haunting that she experienced firsthand. So, sit back, relax, grab some snacks, and be terrified by yet another Muhlenberg County ghost story from the Hood. The time period of this particular story that I'm about to share with you was the latter part of 2010, somewhere around October to be exact. It was around that time that after a failed marriage, I would meet the woman of my dreams. After dating for a few months, we would fall madly in love with one another, and we happily remain together to this very day. Around a month or so of getting to know one another, my sweetie will come to me saying that there's something that I need to tell you about the house. She firmly grabbed me by both my hands, looking me squarely in my eyes, blinking not once, as she proceeded to tell me that her home was in fact haunted, not giving me any time to give her any response. She hesitantly asked me whether or not I myself believed in spirits or ghosts. I paused for a few seconds and then calmly looked her back in her eyes and said to her, "Yes, of course I do." Based on her reaction, I could quickly tell that the answer I gave took her completely by surprise. At that time, she had no idea of my past, especially involving anything remotely supernatural or paranormal. But before I go any further, please smash the hell out of that like button. And don't forget to click on the little bell icon so you can stay in the loop each and every time I drop a brand new video. According to my lovely lady, she had moved into her craftsman-style home on and around November of the year 2006. It wasn't until the breakup of her former husband that she slowly started to notice the strange things happening in her home, and it appeared to only happen when she was there alone. For example, things like the lights flickering on and off simultaneously in various rooms throughout her large, spacious home. She recalled her cupboard doors opening and closing all by themselves throughout the night, as well as being awakened by the sounds of her bedroom doors slamming throughout the house while she was lying in bed fast asleep. This would happen on many occasions, just out of the blue. She went on to tell me that she worked second shift at the time, religiously making sure that she would take the time before leaving for work to turn off each and every light throughout her home, only to come home at night from work to find the house completely lit up. Not knowing what was happening at the time, she told me that she just chalked it up as perhaps maybe she didn't turn the lights off all along, knowing deep down inside that she had. According to my sweetie, it wasn't the fact that the lights were on that bothered her the most. It was that she was a very frugal person who didn't believe in wasting anything, no matter what it was. So she saw all of the lights being on while no one was there as a sign of being very wasteful. This went on for months, according to my sweetheart, without her having any knowledge of what could be causing the problems going on within our beloved home. Then she went on to tell me that soon after the strange occurrences going on in her home began, she would suddenly start to discover certain objects in her home showing up in places where she knew they shouldn't be, such as finding her hairbrush that she always kept in the bathroom, oddly showing up in the kitchen cupboard. Then there were times when she would find the keys to her car, not hanging on the wall beside the kitchen door where she hung them all the time, but somehow or another showing up in the basement on top of her washing machine or dryer. By now, according to Deanna, she was beginning to be a little worried, even at times frightened from all the strange happenings going on in Hudson Manor. These events would go on for months without any clear explanation as to why, and to Deanna, all of a sudden their home seemed to be haunted. There was no other way, she told me, to explain it. Not believing in the paranormal or supernatural, she said that she just chalked everything up yet again as being coincidental. It wasn't until her youngest daughter, Sarah, came to her after visiting one weekend, stating that while sitting in her spare bedroom one day, with the door to the room wide open, she began to hear footsteps in the house, as if someone was walking around in it, knowing that no one was there with her at the time. These steps were quickly followed by the shadow of what appeared to be a person, slowly walking past the bedroom door, and to seemingly to vanish into thin air as it passed by. By now, Deanna said she knew, without a doubt in her mind, she had a haunting going on within her beloved home. Soon after, my sweetie would tell me that she too started to see the shadow figure show up in various parts of the home, only to seem to disappear into thin air whenever she went to investigate it. This didn't sit well with my sweetie at all, and she knew it was time for her to somehow get to the bottom of what or who was haunting her beloved home. Time would pass by, and after putting up with the strange events happening in her home for a couple of years, a friend of hers that she knew and worked with at the time would ask if he could perhaps rent a room from her, since she had such a large home. Because she was there alone, she told me that she had no problem with it as long as they kept it on a friendship basis only, and she said that's exactly what the two of them did. RJ would rent the room for a couple of years without any issues involving anything paranormal or supernatural, and things had started to die down somewhat for Deanna inside her home. This would all change in a matter of time, especially for RJ. Around 2009, Deanna would tell me that she remembered going over to Owensboro, Kentucky to spend the weekend with her daughter and grandkids. She recalled RJ coming up to her and asking her if he could sleep in her bedroom while she was away. The bedroom was located on the main floor. This worked out well for RJ. It allowed him not to have to climb the many steps leading up to his room. Agreeing to do this, Deanna said that she left town, leaving RJ there alone, all by himself. According to Deanna, upon returning back to her home on Sunday, she immediately met at the door by RJ, who looked as if he had seen a ghost, based on the expression on his pale face. When she asked RJ what was wrong, he began to tell her something that completely blew her away. RJ began telling her that while he was lying in bed, he was awakened by the temperature of the room it was high, and it drenched him with sweat from head to toe, just from the heat alone. So he hopped up out of bed, went into the hallway, and noticed that the thermostat was as high as it could go, causing the home to be extremely hot. Bear in mind, this was the beginning of the summer. There was no need for heat to be on at all. So RJ said that he turned it off all the way down to 70 degrees, and then went back into the bedroom and fell back asleep, only to be awakened once again drenched in sweat and burning up. So once again he went back into the hallway and turned down the thermostat, which he found to be on full blast. Upon the third time, RJ said that he was yet again awakened by the extreme heat, so he hopped up out of his bed, ran to the thermostat, turned it all the way down to 60 degrees this time. And only this time, instead of him returning back to the bedroom, he calmly took out his cell phone and began recording the entire incident. What happened next nearly made him pee on himself, according to RJ, for right before his eyes, he watched the hand of the thermostat slowly go from 60 degrees all the way to 90 degrees. This frightened RJ so much that he told Deanna he was unable to sleep until after she had returned back home from Owensboro. But now Deanna stated that she had had enough. She knew that she had to do something because this was her home under attack, and she wasn't about to let anyone or anything run her away from her home. So one day, according to Deanna, she got home from work, only to find all of the lights in her house on once again. It was at that time that she told me, shouted out at the top of her lungs to whomever it was causing the disturbance to stop it now. All it was doing was wasting power, and she didn't believe in wasting anything. Deanna stated that based on the shadow figure she would periodically see, along with the strange odor she felt when she was at home, that it was an elderly man causing all the ruckus. And immediately after her letting him know that she meant business and she wanted him to stop all ridiculous things he was doing, things went back to normal, and she didn't have any other problems out of her ghost. Deanna said that it was if he knew exactly what she meant when she said she hated to be wasteful. After meeting and falling in love with my sweetheart Deanna, I moved in with her around the year 2011. Up until that time, I personally hadn't had anything or witnessed anything out of the ordinary, which was okay with me. I have seen enough in my lifetime that I didn't want or need to see anything else. This would all change one day when I found myself home alone. I recall it as if it was yesterday. I was in the bathroom taking a bath, laid back and relaxed in the tub, with the door to the bathroom closed, when I thought I heard a loud bang from within the house. It sounded like something had fallen off her shelf, or either in the kitchen or in the dining room. Then everything went quiet as the bathroom door slowly started to open up all by itself, closely followed by a gulf of cold air and the smell of an elderly person that sometimes they have when they're around you. This scared me so bad that I jumped up out of the tub, splashing water everywhere. I partially dried myself off, and I got the hell up out of there. I texted my sweetie and told her that I would be over at my parents' house when she got off from work. By now, Deanna had had enough, and soon after, the two of us moved out of the large home into something a lot smaller, never once again having experienced anything like we had at Hudson Manor. So, if you happen to know anyone that resides at 419 Broad Street personally, and happen to bring up any type of strange happenings going on in their house, feel free to warn them that they too might be dealing with the same old man ghost that's haunted the property for years. And if he starts playing around with the thermostats, stop him in his tracks by letting him know not to be wasteful for anything, and perhaps the hauntings will stop for them as well as it did for Deanna. I'm Sir Creepsta, and until next time, stay terrified. Ha 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 ha!